Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and today I am back to talk about, I think, all of the iris fragrances that I've got in my collection. So I didn't realize I had so many. I knew I had a good few, but I actually have more than I knew. So I'm going to jump right in. I've got some really, really beautiful ones here. So I'm going to start with this one here. This is Boucheron Iris de Syracuse, and this is one of my favorite iris fragrances. the only one that I'll mention it, but I didn't dig through my travel spray bin is Glossier U, and I also have Kaleidoscope from Bath & Body Works. We'll talk about those in a little while though. But yeah, this is one of my favorite iris fragrances. This one is slightly powdery. This one has a really buttery quality to it. This one smells buttery to me, and I love it. It's not overly sweet. It's just very slightly sweet, but it's a powdery, buttery iris. It's gorgeous. I love this one. This is like a Your Skin But Better kind of fragrance. I really, really enjoy wearing my iris fragrances to bed. I find that that's when I'm reaching for them the most. There's something really, really comforting about the way the iris smells. And yeah, it's just beautiful. So this is one of my favorites. This one will actually last a really long time on the skin as well. I find that I can get a good 6 or 8 hours out of this one. Some of the other ones don't perform quite as well. This one is really not horrible. Yeah, this one's really not bad at all. I can definitely get a good 6 hours out of it. It's really, really a beautiful one. So that is Boucheron Iris de Syracuse. Okay, this next one is a very popular fragrance. This is La Mia Perla from La Perla, and I love this fragrance. This is one that I mostly wear to bed because it just doesn't perform well on me at all. This is more of a fresh, skin-like iris fragrance. Yeah, this one, it's got some kind of, I want to say it's like a suede note. So it definitely gives it this, it's kind of like a soft, I don't know, it's got a softness to it, and it's not overly powdery. It's a little bit powdery, especially on skin. The powderiness comes out a little bit more on skin than it does on paper. This one is just a touch sweet, but this one is much more skin-like. It's really, really beautiful. I love this one too. This one almost has like an almondiness, if that's a word, an almondiness to it. I get a little bit of an almond vibe from it. This one, unfortunately, is a very bad performer on me, though. I do wear it mostly to bed just because it's one of those that if I wore it for my, as my scent of the day, it's one that I would have to leave out and constantly spray on all the time because it just, I don't know. It's when I wear it to bed, I'll spray it on. It'll get me 15 minutes before I'm going to fall asleep. It'll get me to that point, and then when I wake up, it's gone. So, but I really, really do love it. It's very comforting. It's very soft and beautiful and skin-like smelling, and I love it for that. So that is La Mia Perla from La Perla. This next one is one that you guys are going to be surprised, but I will tell you, iris is what I get the most out of this fragrance. This is Salvador Dali Laguna, and this fragrance has a ton of notes in it. It is like a kitchen sink fragrance. It's got everything under the sun in it, so many things, flowers, fruits, all kinds of different things, coconut, vanilla, but I'll tell you what I get the most is the iris. In my mind, this is more of an iris fragrance than anything else, and I love it. It's such a unique fragrance. You definitely get some kind of a citrus in the top. You get a little bit of sweetness. You can kind of smell the coconut, but it's not like overpowering at all. It's not, you have to really be thinking coconut when you smell it to even be able to detect it, because it's just not like an in-your-face coconut. But you definitely get a lot of citruses, a little bit of coconut, a little bit of sweetness, and a really, really beautiful powdery iris note at the heart. And it almost reminds me of lemons and iris. That's exactly what it reminds me of. It's like lemons and iris. Now, when you wear this on the skin, you get a little bit more of the creaminess. You get the vanilla. You get a little bit more of the... It's just a little bit more creamy smelling than on paper. But on paper, it really does smell like iris and lemons. It's beautiful. This is such an underrated fragrance. This is one that... Yeah, this is one that I will definitely be picking a full bottle up of soon, probably this spring or summer. I just adore this. It's beautiful. If the idea of a slightly powdery iris and lemon fragrance sounds good to you, I think you might like it. It's really, really unique, very underrated, and just a stunning fragrance. So anyways, that is Salvador Dali Laguna. Next, I've got an Hermes fragrance. This one is so beautiful. In fact, I need to, I haven't smelled this one in a while. This is Hermes Iris Ukiyoe. This is beautiful. This is more of like a spiced iris. It's really, really light. There's not a lot of powderiness here either. It's like a light, dry, slightly spiced, very, very slightly sweet iris. It's beautiful. This is a dry iris though. It's not powdery like a lot of iris fragrances can be. Think Glossier You, things like that, that you really get that powderiness or a butteriness from it. Not this one at all. This is very much like a dry, spiced, but still sweet and smooth. It's not like, the spice is really, really tame. It's a very delicate type of spice. It's so delicate that it doesn't take over the iris. It's just beautiful. I love this fragrance. If it weren't so expensive, I would absolutely pick up a full bottle of this. If it's even still available, I don't even know. It's beautiful though. This is one I haven't even given it a good full wear test, like all over my, like a good full wear test. I've sprayed it on my hand, but I haven't worn it. This is one that I really need to do that, but anytime I have something this small, I like ration it, which means I don't wear it at all. So anyways, that is Iris Ukiyoe from Hermes. Really beautiful. Okay, next we have a Guerlain fragrance. This is Eau de Shalimar from Guerlain. This is such a very difficult fragrance to find, but man, do I love this. Gosh, this is a lemony Shalimar. Yes, this is a really lemony Shalimar with a beautiful, delicate, powdered iris note in the base. It is so beautiful. It is very, very citrus heavy in the top. It's slightly sweet. It still has that kind of delicate resinous quality about it that the original Shalimar has, but it's very delicate is the word. It is like the most delicate resinous fragrance you would ever smell. And it has got the most gorgeous, very lightly powdered iris in the base. This is super, super citrus heavy. It's got a ton of citrus in the top. So kind of like the Laguna, it's like iris and lemons. That's really what this is like too. It's like iris and lemons, like resting on a very delicate bed of resins. It's beautiful. It's still Shalimar. It still smells like Shalimar, but it's like baby Shalimar. It's Shalimar as an infant is what it smells like to me. I love it. So anyways, that is Eau de Shalimar from Guerlain. Okay, next we have a Dua fragrance. This is called Iris Cafe. This is a clone of Guerlain Iris Torrefe. I think if I'm saying that correctly, but it's basically coffee and iris. It's really, really beautiful. It's like a strong black coffee and a powdery iris. And that's basically what it is. A powdery, slightly buttery iris and a strong black coffee. It's not sweet. It's slightly powdery from the iris. And just, it's gorgeous. If you like coffee, if you like iris, that's all this is, basically. There's not a whole lot else going on. I think there are quite a few other notes in it, but I don't get anything else but the powdery, buttery iris and the black coffee. It's really beautiful. I really love this. But again, there's no sweetness in this. So sometimes I feel like when I wear this, I feel like I need to add something to it. And I'll put on like a vanilla oil first, and then I'll layer this over it just to give it a little bit of sweetness. But it's beautiful. It's beautiful on its own too. So anyways, that is Iris Cafe from Duo. Next, we have a beautiful niche iris fragrance. This is from Viktoria Minya. This is Hedonist Iris. And this is a very different kind of iris fragrance as well. Yeah, this one is really, really soft. Very, very skin-like. I mean, it smells almost like... It really does smell like warm skin. This one really is a beautiful skin scent in every sense of the word. It's very much a skin scent. Now, when I wear this, as it warms on my skin, it does start to give off a little bit of a sweetness. The iris starts to come out, but the iris it's not like an overpowering, powdery iris. It's much more of like a light, delicate, slightly sweet, almost slightly tart iris. It's really gorgeous. This is one of the most unique iris fragrances I think that I have in my collection. It's just a completely different take on iris. It's not that buttery, almost Orris-y iris. It's more of like a delicate, like iris petal, or, you know, like the flower itself, which I don't think has an actual fragrance, but if you could imagine smelling a flower rather than a butter, that's kind of the difference. It's just beautiful. I love it. It's an iris fragrance that's not a powdery iris fragrance, and it's not overly sweet either. It's just a really beautiful skin scent. Really gorgeous, very delicate, very understated, just clean skin. So anyways, that is Viktoria Minya Hedonist Iris. And next we have a brand new one to my collection. I just picked this up. This is Eternity Intense from Calvin Klein. Now I picked this up because I really, really love Christian Dior Homme Intense, which is also an iris fragrance. That's just a man's iris fragrance. I love it so much. I'm still looking for a full bottle of that. But somebody who also loves Dior Homme Intense, in fact, she's the one that turned me on to it, said that this was a really beautiful fragrance that was kind of like it. And it really kind of is. It's definitely not Dior Homme Intense. This is definitely more of a sweet iris fragrance. But you really do get the same kind of feeling when you wear this that you get when you wear a Dior Homme Intense. It's a really beautiful, cozy, powdery iris. This one is sweet. This is very, very sweet to my nose. This one is much more like the Boucheron Iris de Syracuse. It's a really beautiful, sweet, slightly powdery iris. I love this. This lasted pretty good on me too. So the Viktoria Minya, you'll get maybe 3 or 4 hours out of this. It's not the best performer in the world. Iris Cafe, this also is not a great performer. This is one of the Duo fragrances in my collection that is not an absolute beast. I can get maybe 4 hours out of this if I'm lucky, 3 or 4 hours. Eau de Shalimar is really, really good, especially if you wear this in the heat. I can get 6, 7 hours out of it. It's definitely like great for being such a citrus heavy iris fragrance. And then I think we talked about everything else. But yeah, this one is not bad. I just gave this a really good wear test, and I left the house and I was out for hours. I think it was the day that I went down to my mom's. It was. And I could smell myself all day. I just kept getting that really beautiful, sweet, slightly powdery iris scent all day. So I would say I got 7 hours out of this maybe. I do overspray pretty heavily, so that probably had something to do with it. But I love this bottle too. It's this really beautiful kind of purple brown color. It's kind of like a purpley brown. I don't know. There's just something that I really, really like about it. And then with the with that kind of gunmetal colored lid, I just think it's really pretty. So anyways, yeah, if you're looking for a sweet iris, if you're looking for a replacement for Glossier U or Bath & Body Works Kaleidoscope, this is your fragrance. This one smells very, very similar to both of those. It smells very similar to Glossier U as well as Bath & Body Works Kaleidoscope. So anyways, that is Eternity Intense. And then yes, I do have Glossier U. I will pop up a picture here. It's really beautiful. It just doesn't last on me at all. It's one of those that if it did last any time on me at all, I would buy a full bottle, but because it just doesn't perform well on me, I don't have a full bottle. I also have a pen spray of Bath & Body Works Kaleidoscope. It reminds me the most of Eternity Intense. They both have that same sweetness to them. I do have the Bath & Body Works Kaleidoscope lotion that I will layer any of these fragrances over. Anything that has kind of an iris base to it, I layer over Kaleidoscope, but the Kaleidoscope lotion doesn't last that long, so it really doesn't help anything, but I just like it because it does smell a little bit stronger for a little while. And then last but not least, I have True Love from Elizabeth Arden. This is another one. This has a ton of iris in it. Now this one's a little bit more floral. It's got some other floral notes in it, so it is a little bit more floral than any of the others. This is another one that I love to wear to bed. It's just such a cozy, comforting fragrance for me for bedtime. This one lasts long though. I mean, if I wore this as my scent of the day, I feel confident that I could easily get 6 or 8 hours out of this, especially if I oversprayed. This doesn't smell exactly like I remember it smelling in the 90s. This used to be a powerhouse of a perfume, just like most of them did back in those days. And it just is not like that anymore. It's a shadow of its former self, for sure. But I do still enjoy it. It does bring a little bit of nostalgia for me. And it does still generally smell the way that it used to. It's just nothing like it used to be, if that makes any sense. It's just not the powerhouse that it used to be. This used to be like a one spray quit. All you had to do was spray it once and you were good for the entire day. It would get you through your entire school day. Not anymore. This one, I mean, it does still last well. It does still perform well. But you really have to overspray it to get it to perform, to get 7 or 8 hours out of it. But I love this one. This one it's iris, but it's got some other flowers in it as well. It's got some citruses, I believe, in the top. It's got a real zing to it. It really does. It's got a bite to it when you smell it. It does soften up a little bit more on the skin rather than on paper, but it does still have kind of a bite to it, and it's got more flowers than just the iris. But really the heart of this fragrance is a really gorgeous powdery iris, and I love it for that. And I do love wearing this one to bed. The funny thing about this is I have almost no dent in this. I mean, you can see, but I have worn this a lot. So it just tells you how darn full this thing was up into the neck. Yeah, you can see they fill it all the way to the top, or up into the neck, because I have used this quite a bit. And I still have just such a baby dent in it. So I think this one's gonna last me a long time. This is a huge bottle though. This is a 3.3 ounce bottle. But anyways, really, really beautiful iris fragrance. So that is Elizabeth Arden True Love. And that is going to be it, guys. Those are, I think, all of the iris. I probably have one here or there that I left out, but those are most of the iris fragrances that I have in my collection. I do hope that you all enjoyed this. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I will see you guys very soon. Bye.